Good morning, afternoon, evening, whenever it is, wherever you are. Thank you, as always, for listening to the Backlog Busting Project. We are on episode 11, and my name is Wes. With me, as always, is Randy.
Yes, episode 11, and possibly my favorite collection of games we played so far, and I am shocked to say this.
It definitely up there for me as well. I mean, I knew going in one of them was going to be good, but the other one I was not feeling very good about. Speaking of not... Go ahead.
No, you're fine.
I was just going to segue into the next segment.
I was just going to ask you why you didn't like Final Fantasy V. Were you worried about Final Fantasy V? Is that what you're... No? Okay. Anyway.
Switch.
Go ahead.
Alright. Speaking of uneasy feelings, we're going to go ahead and go into the Player Nay segment. And we have a lot to talk about this episode, which makes me almost wonder if we need to start thinking about bringing back more Player Nay article.
Yeah, games are starting to come back out.
I know, right? It's
and
ridiculous.
Some of them look really, really good.
Yep. Don't quite know about this first one, though. It's Hatoful Boyfriend, releasing for the PlayStation 4 and Vita on the 21st. Originally developed by Pidgeo Nation Incorporated and fuck that publisher name, holy shit. The port was developed by Mediatonic and published by, fantastic, Devolver Digital.
Is that bad?
Hotline Miami. Fuck.
Oh, well then I feel really bad because I don't like how this game looks at all. It look okay. So people that have never heard of this game, like us or me, I guess. Yeah. Wes probably has played this game secretly and doesn't want to talk about it. It came out before. It's a dating sim with birds and craziness. And I'm sorry, it looks like a Newgrounds game to me from like my high school days. Like, the people that were making Newgrounds games back when, Newgrounds was pretty new still. And
back before Tom Folk fucked off to start the Behemoth?
Yeah, absolutely. Before that, and when people actually were making stuff for it. I'm sure they still are,
they actually kind of are, because I never bothered to deactivate my old account, and I still get their top 5 emails every fucking night. One of these days I should go back into that and just shut it off, because I haven't visited there in years, but... to go back to, I did name drop the Behemoth just then. I'm really excited they announced the name for their next game, Pit People, at Comic-Con.
Oh, it's not Game 4 anymore?
No, it's not Game 4 anymore. It's called Pit People.
No, I like Pit People. Game 4.
But that'll be, and it looks fun to play. So from what I've seen, so
you heard it here first. Wes has said that Hateful Boyfriend's fun to play.
Son of a bitch!
Because I will cut that together where it sounds like that's what you're talking about. But no, back to the game that we're talking about. We'll get to Pit People and all of that. When it comes out, and I'm sure play the hell out of it.
Yeah,
it is Behemoth, and we're both big fans of them. Hateful Boyfriend,
even though we still haven't gotten around to beating Battle Block yet.
It's a future project, I'm sure.
Yeah, true.
Hateful Boyfriend, Player Nay.
Why
do you have to think about it? Nay.
I'm gonna go with nay.
Okay.
I mean, we watched the launch trailer. I got a couple good chuckles out of it. Especially, like, the one we watched was, them making fun of streamers, which, considering what we're gonna announce later, probably not the best option to be laughing at. But, apart from that, it's a dating sim about birds. I don't play dating sims, unless they're called Persona 3 or Persona 4, and about birds. I mean, come the fuck on. Really? Nay. So, the next game, to go from a dating sim about birds to this next game is,
to Hitler.
To Zombie Hitler.
Yes.
is a little bit of an interesting jump. The next game on our list, also releasing on July 21st, is the Zombie Army Trilogy. It is going to be released on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. It is developed by Rebellion Oxford, wow, and is published by Rebellion Developments. I'm assuming that's basically the same company except Dev Studio. But,
So here, I'll give you a good segue. I think Hitler, if he wasn't a zombie, would play Hateful Boyfriend. You think? I think he would. I think he'd be into that game.
Oh,
no?
God.
He might.
He
You
might,
never know.
Oh, God. I don't know why I found that so funny.
Well,
but I did.
Hitler jokes are always funny.
True. So, this is apparently a remaster and recut of games that already came out. 3 of them, in fact, because that's a trilogy right there in the name. I don't recognize these games at all. They kind of reminded me of the Sniper Elite games, but that can't be with like the zoom in on like the gore and heads popping off and everything. And like I'm pretty sure we saw some like X-ray cam going on at one point, but at the same time, it looked like just generic shooter to me. Otherwise, and I'm sitting there going, this just feels like it's trying too hard.
You know, this came out on the PC, and a buddy of mine, I remember playing it and enjoying it. It's one of those games to me that, if you want to have a game night with your buddies and you don't want to get goofy, like Wes and I, when we have game night, it's like You Don't Know Jack and trivia games and a lot, just something that's going to make us laugh.
Yeah.
It's basically how we handle our game nights anymore.
Yeah.
Or a rock band night if we want to get old school or get ready for the new one. Or things like that. This is more of the gory, hardcore co-op game nights, because you can play co-op on this, and it just seems kind of like why people like the zombies mode in like the Call of Duty games. Mm-hmm. It's basically kind of taking that, it seemed like, and making it a full game with the campaign. It's just lots of zombies coming at you, and you just shred through them mindlessly. And I wouldn't always go as far as it's one of my favorite kind of game types, or maybe even my cup of tea, but it looked good. And it looks like it would be a lot of fun, but for me, it's a nay. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's a nay for me. I wouldn't even give it as much praise as much of a chance as you just did just there. I was looking at that trailer and I was struggling not to roll my eyes so hard they fell out of my head. And I was just like,
I just want to give it more of a chance. Maybe see some reviews and how it works on the system. I mean, it's another co-op or PS4 game, which is out there, which I still need to get around to getting people together and play Helldivers, because that game just looks amazing, and I'm behind all the time on that game. But it's just another co-op PS4 game, so it's made me at least think about it, but to me it's a bit of a nay.
Okay.
Alright, so let's get to the next game, and at first I was excited. It's like, hey, a new game coming out for the Wii U! Uh-huh. But it's not that
How's
new.
that working out for you?
And it's a mobile game.
Yeah.
Turned Wii U. It's called Pixel Slime U.
Yep.
Which, try to look that up on Google. You're never going to find it. It's published by RC Madiax.
RCMADIAX, and that's in all caps.
Yeah.
Because, why the fuck not?
And it's basically, if you've ever played the Impossible game, that's the first thing you think of with this one. But,
yeah.
Like, you're a slime.
Like, literally, you pulled it up, and I was like, what the fuck, is this the Impossible game? Yeah.
But, obviously, the video we watched was from the very beginning, and the levels were easy, but it's the possible game to me. It looks very simple. I'm sure later on it gets very hectic. Mm-hmm. The thing I didn't like is every time you jumped, the camera jumped with you, and it just was weird to me. Mm-hmm. Like I said, I looked this up on Google to try to find anything on the game, and I couldn't. Please, God, make it a $5 game, because that's what it looks like to me. If it's anything more than that,
that's being generous. I'd buy it. I'd buy it for 99 cents.
Well, the Wii people still sell old shit games for $5. So that's where I would put this, and I still wouldn't play it, I'm sure. So this is another nay for me.
Yeah, no.
We're on a wonderful start.
Yeah, nay. Just nay.
We are, I would say 0 for 3, but we all know, Wes, you're going to play Hatoful Boyfriend and not tell us about it. It's going to show up on my Steam thing. You go from cook serve whatever to Hatoful Boyfriend until you see I'm online and you'll switch back.
There's the funny part, you being online. I mean,
well, on my PC, absolutely. So let's get to some good games that are coming out that you and I are both interested in and now very excited for.
Yeah. The first one on the list here is The Swindle, coming out July 28th for PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Wii U, PS3, and Vita. I'm actually kind of surprised that it's not coming out for the 360, given it's coming out for almost everything else.
Well, honestly, and I will give credit to Microsoft for this, it seems like as far as games coming out, that once they announce backwards compatibility and getting games, you're not seeing almost anything for the 360. It's like, now we've given you a reason to move up. You can play your old 360 games. Now, we're not giving you any more shit.
Yeah. So, The Swindle was developed by Size 5 Games. Wow. English. Getting that one out of the way early. And from what we saw of the trailer of this game, this looks like a side-scrolling, steampunk, single-player Payday the Heist. Which I did not know I wanted until I saw it. And now I'm like, holy shit, I'm all fucking over that.
I mean, you brought that up while we were watching the trailer. How do you see, other than you're stealing stuff and money and all that, how do you see Payday in it?
The variety of options. Because there are multiple ways to do heists in Payday as well.
Okay, that's true.
And that was one of the things they were pushing is you have multiple ways to do these heists.
I was just thinking of my few Payday experiences where you have multiple options to do things, but somebody fucks it up and it ends up being a shootout every time.
Yeah.
And it didn't look like you could shoot or anything in this game. So I didn't see Payday, but I've never played in a Payday game that went smoothly enough where...
Well, that's because the only few times we've played Payday, we've been with, like, relatively newer characters, and plus, both of us
are wonderful gamers, and it was somebody else's fault.
So, somewhere Mark's going, fuck off.
Mark would never listen to a podcast and be a buddy. Anyway. But no, I'm with you. I'm stoked about this game. After I saw nothing about it, so thank God we're doing this project. Because, holy hell, does this game just look fun.
Indeed.
And it's another one of those, I say this all the time, and it's I guess it's just a sad Vita owner looking for more games to play on his system. But I'm so glad that it's coming to the Vita, because it just seems like one of those games that's very easy to pick up. It doesn't look like the levels are very long, so you can just pick it up, do a level, put it down. It's perfect. So, huge play for me.
Yeah, same here. Absolutely play. It like I said, it pushed buttons I didn't even know I had, and now I want to play it.
Speaking of pushing buttons we didn't know we had.
Exactly. Yeah.
Let's get to this next game.
Boy.
It's Lost Dimension. It comes out August 28th.
Try that again.
Or July 28th.
There we go.
What month are we? What day? What year is this? Excuse me.
What time zone am I in? Time zone in my end.
What language are you speaking?
Do they speak English and what?
July 28th, and it's for some reason the PS3 and the Vita, which is when we put these games down on the list, it struck me as, oh god.
Yeah.
And then, oh, by the way, it's developed by Furyu, and it's an Atlas game.
Yep.
So, again, PS3 and Vita, so I went, oh god, here we go. And then
you saw Atlas and you went, oh god.
Well, then it's Atlas, and they just are throwing out games on the PS3. It's basically, they had this backlog of games that they were just waiting to send out, and then they went, PS4, and like, oh god, go, get them out. get them out quick, because it's like every time we talk on this show, or on this podcast, it's another Atlas game. And then the trailer started, and it looks like a PS2 game. So I went, oh, fuck. and the cutscenes look like 1990s anime.
Mm-hmm.
And I went, this sucks. This is going to be so horrible. No way. And then they showed gameplay, and it was, different kind of an RPG.
Yeah, Valkyria Chronicles. I probably butchered that, but anybody who's listening probably knows what I was trying to say there.
Yeah, is that? I was thinking Star Ocean a little bit, just
a little bit of that
I'm sure
too,
it's
but
the same thing, but something like that. And I was like, okay, I mean, at least it's an RPG. Where RPGs still live and stuff. And then I started talking about some of the little nuances in the game.
Mm-hmm.
And Wes, you actually read up a little bit more.
Yeah.
So if you would, please.
Basically, the one of the main premises of this game is you're bringing together this group. They're called the Sealed Group, except Sealed is an acronym because Japanese people love doing that for some fucking reason. And you're investigating this tower. And as you're investigating this tower, you're informed that you have a traitor in your group. And your main character has the ability to kind of, get glimpses of the future and get glimpses into the other character's thoughts to try to track down who this traitor might be. Now, where this comes into play is to advance higher in the tower, you have to choose to eliminate one of your team members. And by eliminate, I mean fucking eliminate, because one of the ways that was shown in the trailer was they get shot in the face with a fucking laser beam. And, so it behooves you to try to eliminate the traitor at each turn, but you don't know who the traitor is, because apparently it's basically randomized based on your actions in the game. And it's just... And that is an absolute... the second I saw that and figured that concept out, I looked at Randy and I said, this game has my attention.
Yeah, and I'm really curious, the length of the game, because obviously usually RPGs are pretty long,
mm-hmm.
but then it's with all these different elements, then are the each floor pretty easy? Are we looking at every 10th floor you have to make this
mm-hmm.
decision kind of thing? So I'm very interested in it, and it's a big play for me, and again, another video game for me to play.
Yeah.
So even more happiness.
Yeah, it's a big play for me. Hopefully, at some point, it's maybe at some point a co-play game here on the project. We shall see.
Yes.
But, yeah, definitely a big play for me. Yeah, so that was 5 Player Nay games.
And we went 2 for 3. Which is okay.
Yeah.
Or 2 and 3.
2 and 3, yeah. And with, honestly looking at some of the upcoming releases, like I said, it may be time to maybe think about bringing back more Player Nay, because otherwise
my wallet, seeing some of the games is starting to whine a little bit.
Yeah. Well, my wallet's already dead, so... That's true. Anyway, so, that's going to be Player Nay for this episode. We're going to go ahead and move right along into the meat of the Backlog Busting Project and start talking about the games we played over these last 2 weeks.
Yeah, so the 2 games I played were Rocket League and Rocket League, right? That's what I had to cover, right?
No. Sorry, it wasn't. No. Try again.
Oh, crap. Okay. Can I talk about it anyways?
Yeah, sure, why not?
So, listen, if you've not played Rocket League, where the hell have you been? I mean, if you have a PS4, I guess I should say, or the PC. This game is a lot of fun. If you don't know what it is and you haven't been listening to us last podcast,
mm-hmm.
it's soccer, but you're in RC cars. And usually I'm playing 2v2 or 3v3, but it's just a lot of crazy fun for very little control, really. There's only a few buttons you have to use. It's very simple to learn how to play. And it's one of those games, because every game lasts 5 minutes, that you just get hooked in. It's one of those, alright, I'll play one more. Or one more. Holy shit, why is it 4 o'clock in the morning?
Yeah.
What happened? So the game itself is awesome. You unlock something every game you play, whether you win or lose, so that's great. There are a few things that I wish they would change, and I'm sure they're working on it right now. Obviously, if you've seen any of the news about this game, the servers suck, but I can't really put that on them because I don't think they ever anticipated this much play, especially so fast.
Yeah.
But that has to do, I think, with it becoming a PlayStation Plus game.
Yeah.
So it got hit hard, and so I can't really look down on that. One of my biggest issues is, well, there's two that go together. So it says that you can play on your PS4 and play against people that are using the PC, but you can't join a party with them. There's no way of searching for them and making them part of the group. So I have a couple buddies that have it on the PS4, and I have a couple that have it on the PC. But we can't get in a group together and all play yet. I'm sure they're working on it. And the other one that just makes no sense why you can't is you can't play 3v3 ranked games in a group. Like, me and my buddy can get together and play 2v2 ranked games all day long. And we're together and we're okay. Well, we had a third person join us, and we're in there playing unranked games and just destroying everybody. So I'd be really interested to see really good players and level up and all that stuff. So you go to rank, it won't let you. It's not even an option if you're in a group. So I'm hoping they fix that. Hopefully it's just a bug they didn't think of.
Yeah, that's a rather weird omission there. So that's got to be a glitch or something they found out right before launch, and they just had to go, well.
It's either that or it's one of those they don't want a full-on team working together. It's more they wanted it to be more of a random thing, which who knows?
But that kind of defeats the purpose of having a ranked mode if you're going to have an element of randomness to it. Because a ranked implies that you're trying to be the best, and to try to be the best, you need to have preparation.
Absolutely. I'm with you. I'm hoping they fix that, or they change it. Yeah. One thing I would like them to add later on, and I'm sure they will as they figure things out and what people want, is like a tournament mode or a league mode. They have a season mode, but you're only playing the computer.
Yeah,
so if they could, with the next DLC, which they've already said is coming after a few patches.
Right, yeah.
If they could add something with some longevity to it, like a season mode or tournament mode or anything like that. So all in all, the game itself is amazing. The gameplay is great. Just a few bugs they have to work out. So if you're frustrated with any of the stuff that I have said as a frustration, give them time. I have faith in them for some reason, even though as not a developer, I know that well. But I have faith that they're going to get it worked out just because of how they've handled all of it now.
Yeah.
Going, listen, we understand, and we're working on it as best we can, and you guys are going to get all this stuff, and, we apologize. Like, they're coming out and saying, our bad.
Yeah.
And they put it on the thing all the time of, we are, the people playing the game now are the ones that are going to shape the future of the game, and they're listening, which I think is really awesome. So definitely play Rocket League. Yeah.
So to kind of put, I know this is kind of going back to something you said about 5 minutes ago at this point, but you mentioned that this game had an unfathomable amount of popularity really quickly.
Yeah.
It is currently 10:46 p.m. as we record this. I just checked the statistics on Twitch. There are currently 10,000 people watching Rocket League being played on Twitch right now.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm surprised it's not more, because that game's a lot of fun, I'm sure, to watch. I mean, I'm sure, I don't know if you can look it up this second. How many people are watching that stupid Agario game?
I can certainly look here if you'll give me.
And I don't want to say, I'm sorry for saying stupid. The game itself is one of those dumb, addicting ones.
Yeah.
But I can't imagine watching people stream that game. Can you?
No.
I mean, it's dots going around. Like, I'll watch a Let's Play of it where they edit shit out if they're really funny, because it's one of those games where it's the conversation going on.
Exactly, yeah.
Rather than the gameplay.
There's actually not a lot of people watching Agario right now. It's not even on the... Nope, there it goes. There are 895 people watching Agario right now.
Okay, good. It went down. I was hearing, 2-3 weeks ago, there was, thousands of people watching that. It was one of the top games.
It does on occasion, yeah. Let's see here. For some reason, there are... I just found one that was really dumb. Let me go find it again. There are 622 people watching Final Fantasy IX right now.
Sure. I'm sure it's all one stream.
Yeah, most likely.
Alright.
Anyway. Enough talk of streaming and Twitch and Rocket League. We were talking about our games for this episode.
Yes.
That would the co-played game for this episode would be Batman Arkham Origins, which released... Batman Arkham Origins released October 25th, 2013, developed by Warner Brothers Montreal and assisted by Splash Damage and 50 other fucking studios. Holy shit. Published by Warner Brothers Interactive Entertainment. This was kind of a stopgap game, and you can kind of tell it was a stopgap game, where Warner Brothers wanted an Arkham game, but Rocksteady was too busy working on Knight, so they went,
I'm with you. I remember when I first started playing this game, my girlfriend was watching a little bit of it, and I made a comment and found myself to be clever, so I wrote it down. But to me, especially early on in this game, I call Batman Origins, it's the Arkham series' younger, less talented cousin.
Yep.
Is basically what Batman Origins at least felt like to me at the beginning, and obviously there are signs of it throughout the game.
Yeah.
But we'll get into why my feelings for the game changed.
Okay. So, the basic rundown of this game is, at the beginning, it's Christmas Eve in Gotham, and Batman catches wind of Black Mask has hired 8 assassins to come into the city and go after a bounty on Batman's head of $50 million. So he goes out into the city to, kind of proactively, stop these assassins, and while also protecting the citizens of Gotham from this entire, mess that's about to go down. And he faces off against assassins like Deathstroke, Copperhead, let's see here, Firefly, the Electrocutioner, and Bane as well. There are a couple others that I'm forgetting off the top of my head, but that's the basic gist of it. And as you're working through this game, you eventually find out that the Black Mask is actually been kidnapped by the Joker, shock horror, and that the Joker was actually the one who put this entire bounty plan into motion, and then the game becomes about stopping him and his plans for the city, and that's basically the sandbox they put you in for this version of an Arkham game. And while I have no complaints about the story and the characters, I felt it was reasonably well executed. Especially, I will admit, the sequence where the Joker is talking to Harleen Quinzel right after you save him
is awesome.
Is fucking amazing. And the story beats in this game are fucking amazing. But everything else about it just felt off and wrong to me.
Well, I think the first third of the game especially felt off and felt rushed and felt like they couldn't come up with a cool way to introduce everybody. They're just like, hey, 8 bad guys. There they are.
Have fun with that, yeah.
And then, especially the first time you meet some of these villains, it's like, you walk into a room and, oh, there's one.
Yep.
Which, I guess makes sense because they're out hunting you, so it's not going to be slowly set up. Mm-hmm. They're hunting you, and they just seem to catch you there. So that part, I guess, is okay. But
I get what you're saying. It makes sense from a story perspective, but from a gameplay perspective, that was one of my main annoyances with this game. Was that the assassin fights, for the most part, came out of absolutely bug-fuck nowhere. what is it? It's like the electrocutioner shows up, and in a really fucking funny scene. Props to them for having the balls to do this. The fact that they build up the electrocutioner, and he does his whole sends electricity arcing through the railing in the floor while taunting you, and then he jumps down while the music swells.
I loved his line.
Yeah.
I'm going to kill you and then
resuscitate you,
shock your heart back to life and then kill you again.
Yeah, that was pretty good. And then he jumps down and it's like, it does the dramatic camera zoom and it's like defeat electrocutioner, and then it's just one hit and he goes down like a bitch.
So I have to ask you, how long did it take you to finally use that one punch?
Not very.
I circled him for a minute because it was just the Batman instincts in me with,
the shock gloves.
Asylum. No, not even that. Asylum and City where Batman is best countering. So I just sat there and waited. Yeah. And I kind of moved around and got close to see if I could trigger something so I could counter him. I'm figuring with electric gloves that, you're going to want to have to counter it and get around his gloves and all that. So I'm just sitting there going around and, alright, I'll get hit once, whatever, and see if I can get something going, and hit him and down he went.
Yeah.
I lost it. I thought it was hilarious.
I was a little bit amped up because I think I'd had difficulty getting to that point for some reason. So I was just amped up. The fight started. I hit square immediately, and it was just like, whoop. Okay then, sure, moving on. But and then almost immediately after that, Deathstroke hits. And to be fair, and I'm saying that a lot, I know. The Deathstroke fight is fucking amazing, even if it is one long-ass quick-time event when you get right on down to it.
Yeah, I have to say, I love the beginning of it, but he has 3 stages, and they're all the same. There's 3 stages to his fight.
Yeah.
The first stage,
they're all just
and then the second, or to go into the second stage, his mask falls off, whatever, and then he gets a stick.
Yeah.
But it's the exact same way to beat him all 3 times. So it was... It was one of those. I was super excited about the fight as I was playing the beginning of it, and then realizing, oh, okay, that's the same. But that, especially that first section before I figured it out, because I died a couple times, whatever. But
I did the same thing.
But just going, oh god, this fight's so awesome! Just because that's what Batman makes you do. You hit one button and he does 19 different things, and it looks great. And I love Deathstroke's fight, especially because it really made you think. Mm-hmm. And the reason I died so many times at the beginning was you're just it's instincts that he's punching, I'm going to hit the counter button. Mm-hmm. But the game at this point is letting you know, no, Batman's going to block for you in some of this stuff. The counter is for when you see the opening.
Yeah.
So then you had to wait for the opening. But I got myself way too many times trying to counter too fast.
Yeah, I did that a few times too. But, my issue isn't with the combat in this game, with the exception of one of the gadgets you get later, which we'll get into in a second. My exception is with this game has some pacing issues combat-wise. I think would be the best way to put it. Because there is a lot of filler fights that probably don't need to be there. And then there's also a lack of, of introduction to the bosses. Because there's only one assassin fight that I think gets a proper amount of build-up, and that's the fucking Firefly, of all people. Because it sets him up, he's, taking over the bridge, and he's the next on the list, basically. And then you have a good solid 20 or 30 minutes of gameplay before you actually fight Firefly. Whereas the other fights are just kind of, well, here you go, you're fighting Deathstroke now. Have fun. Or here you go, you're fighting Copperhead now. Have fun with that.
No, I think Bane was the same. Where they, Joker's in the hotel, and you knew you had to go all the way up to the top of this hotel, and they had set up that Bane was there, and Bane was going to take you out, and he told the Joker and stuff. And Joker makes many references as you're climbing about the present he has for you. And stuff. But I kind of agree. The Copperhead fight was probably the most frustrating fight to me, because there's so much on the screen.
Yeah.
But I couldn't tell you how it got set up. it's already
it's
lost in...
It's basically you see one guy that got hit by a toxin, and you hear a little bit of chatter about how this dude freaked out and ran into the elevator, clawing his eyes out. And then you investigate, and then she just drops down and scratches you, and all of a sudden you're dying from the neurotoxin.
Yeah, but her fight drove me nuts, just because the screen is doing all sorts of weird shit, and there's 9,000 versions of her on the screen at once, and they're all.
And sometimes when one of them grabs you, you have to hit her with Seamus's white noise. Fucking amazing, yeah. But, yeah, just little things like that, and, things that made me go, okay, this, again, reminding me this is not a Rocksteady game, because there would be a lot of times where I was starting to get into it, and I'm starting to go, okay, this is an Arkham game, we're getting good, and then some sort of technical glitch like that, or, bad setup, would make me go, oh yeah, this wasn't Rocksteady, and it would push me right back out of it.
Okay. So, this brings me to what I think they should have done with this game. And I think it was one of those, obviously, because it was a stopgap game, that they were just trying to get in this window. So, I don't think my idea would have worked for what they were trying to do. But see what you think about this. And I wanted it even more when they tease it in the game. This game should have been the origins of Joker. You should have played as Joker the whole time.
Ooh.
Because then you're not going, well, it's not like Arkham City. Because it's not supposed to be. They could have taken this whole world, took all of the elements from the Arkham games, and changed it up enough the way that Splash Damage and, Montreal wanted to do it, but it's about the Joker. Because that's what the origin is. Because Batman's been established for 2 years up to this point. So it's not Batman's origins. It's the origins of Arkham and how Joker has completely made everything crazy and it's made Batman trust Gordon and some of the police force and vice versa. So this game should have been about Joker and how he ascends to the top of villainy up into the point of taking out Black Mask. That should have been the game.
I'll grant you that's an interesting concept, but it would be a really tough sell for to play an entire game as the Joker, to me, because there needs to be some degree of sympathy for a character you are playing as in any game.
But people love the Joker.
Well,
and they could have added elements of you're the one setting up the traps. For somebody, maybe not Batman, but somebody trying to stop them, for the police force. So you could be setting up traps in the hotel that gets people, or this and that. So they could have added even different gameplay elements to it. It's just, I think as the third game of the series, it could have been great as a spin-off.
Yeah. I like I said, I like the kind of like the story concept of it. I'm not so sure it would work from a game perspective. Especially given that, if I remember right, in the Arkham universe, Joker didn't really start doing much until after he, got his skin bleached and whatnot, and, fell into the vat of the chemicals, or whatever his origin is in the Arkhamverse. And, that turned his hair green and his, all that.
And there's your first chapter of your game.
Yeah. But,
And before you go on, it just came into my head. You're talking about how people don't want to play bad guys. You have to have sympathy for a little bit. And you do have sympathy for who I'm going to bring up, so I'm not saying I didn't. But who plays the voice of Joker?
Troy Baker.
And what character does he play that's a complete dick?
Joel?
Yes.
He has...
So you can... yes, you have sympathy for Joel because of what happens in that game. But he's a dick. He's not a good guy in that game.
Okay, I'll grant you that.
And they could have spun this off. Everyone knows the Joker's an evil douche.
Yeah.
And he does terrible things. But you started off right before the chemical thing. He could have been a good guy. And then the chemicals and all this stuff fucked him up. So now you feel bad for this guy that turned into this.
Yeah.
Just like you see Harley Quinn, or Harleen
Quinzel.
Thank you. Before she goes crazy, and you, as you said earlier, that amazing scene between the two of them, and he's talking about how he had this encounter with Batman and how it's changed everything, and she's thinking it's her that he's talking about, and just starting to fall in love with this guy. It's like, they could have done all of this just with the Joker, and I think it would have been one of the better spin-off games that we've ever been able to play. Not saying, again, I came into this game going, oh great, it's the spin-off to the Batman games, it's not going to be that great, and the first third of this game is not. I went into it down on it, so then I started looking at every flaw. Like, the Batman takes up too much of the screen for me a lot of the times, and the running seems a little off, and the open world to me felt clunky, and I had some control issues. So the first third of this game, I'm just going, oh god, this is terrible. And then when they introduced the Joker, and they started changing the way that some of the elements worked, and they started bringing in some of, you're checking out crime scenes and stuff like that. I got into it. I have to say, this game won me over. I'm just saying, I wish they would have went in a different direction so I didn't have the Arkham series hovering over it all the time, where we're going, well, Rocksteady did this, and they couldn't quite do it as good, so now this is a terrible game. If they would have just went in a whole different direction with this, I think it would have worked better for them.
Yeah. A lot of my remaining notes are just kind of like little polished things that I don't think Rocksteady would have ignored. Like, there were a lot of, like, one of my main pet peeves is spelling and grammar errors in subtitles, and I noticed a fucking lot of those. Like, there's one at the very end of the game that's really prominent. It's Joker in the chapel. His first line to start off that cutscene is, "Oh, bats, what a night." And, really long, drawn out. Well, the subtitle for that line, bats isn't capitalized, and there's no comma. And it's just sitting there for like a full 30 seconds to a minute while Troy Baker's acting the hell out of this line. And I'm just sitting there, and because, like I said, I'm a bit of, I'll fully admit to being grammar and spelling Nazi. I'm sitting there, and I'm just looking at it, and I'm like, if I were a camera, I'd be slow zooming in on that train wreck of a subtitle, sort of thing. But, stuff like that. And then one of my major issues, I kind of alluded to this earlier when I said there was a particular gadget in the game that I was not a fan of. And I know it's integral to, the plot of the game, but the fucking shock gloves.
Okay, explain.
I get why they need to be in the game for story reasons. I get, their function. But I feel like after their introduction, it basically became, hey, here's the shock gloves, and they're attached to Batman. Have fun with that. Because it's, almost every puzzle after their introduction involves the shock gloves at some point or another. And then, every single fight you have after that, you will fill up your meter enough to use the shock gloves, and then they become basically have a whole bunch of free combo and be able to ignore the mechanics of our battles. It basically became, once you had the shock gloves, you win this encounter if you know what you're doing.
Yeah, but I think then they kind of cover that up with the last few battles being with a ton of people. So, I mean, yes, I do agree with you that the shock gloves kind of nerf some of the smaller battles. Mm-hmm. But as far as the puzzles go, I guess I didn't see it like you did, where they were in everything. Because that was with all the mechanics, with the glue gun. It seemed like that was used ever since. And to me, maybe, I don't know if you just didn't notice or if it was you were just tired of using it, but the shock gloves were used in all of the puzzles after that because it was allowing you in places that you couldn't before because you didn't have the shock gloves. Because that's, when you get the shock gloves, all of a sudden now you're in like the same, like the police station again and the sewers underneath it again and all these places you've been before, but now you can go this way finally. So you were using them a lot to finally unlock these areas. I thought they did a decent job of, for the small universe that they have in this place. That was one of those sneaky tricks of, okay, now we'll just go back to the same location, but now you can go this way, so it doesn't seem like you're doing the same thing over and over.
Mm. Well,
Though I will say, speaking of the universe, what a shitty town that would be to live in. I mean, I understand they had to make things look cool and stuff, and I'm sure if I went back and played City, I would probably have the same gripe. But there's no just normal street of houses. It's like these crazy bridges and walls and stuff that are just there to be...
annoying.
Well, not just annoying, but stuff for you to grapple off of.
Yeah.
Or fly off of. Like, I know it's a stickler thing, and it's one of those, I mean, it's a video game, shut up, Randy, but...
Yeah.
It's like, the whole thing did not seem realistic as far as a city went.
Yeah.
To me. Except, I think the only place that I went, okay, that would work, is basically the beginning area where they have that cool glass cover over thing,
mm-hmm.
which basically became a nuisance because you would set a waypoint and it would say it's here, and you'd go there and you go, oh, it's under this thing. So you'd have to go all the way back and then down and under.
Yeah.
But I think that was the only place that kind of looked like it would fit in a city.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of that issue is, like you said, video game, law of conservation of detail. It wouldn't be fun to have to go through the suburbs to get, the suburbs of Gotham to get to your next point.
Speaking of a location, saw one of my notes that I had forgot to bring up. When you go after the penguin,
mm-hmm.
who wasn't in this game as much as I thought he was going to be, especially because you never get him. You just he walks off once, and I don't think I ever saw him again.
He's one of the side missions.
That's right. And I skipped a lot of those. But
yeah, I did too.
I mean, those would be something to go back on. But so you go after the penguin, and you go into a ship, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you walk into the first room, and this guy goes, "Oh, look, the bat brought Fist to a knife fight." And the only reason I bring this up, and it made me laugh so much, was the moment he says that, it brings up the name of the room you're in.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any idea what the room was called?
I don't remember.
Gun shop. So they brought his Fist to a knife fight in a gun shop. Why didn't they have guns? I don't know why it got to me, but it was, again, that was in the first third of the game where I was like, oh god.
Yeah.
Here we go. And then I saw that and I went, oh.
Yeah.
But like I said, and I've said it several times, and I'm a broken record, this game won me over. I'm sorry. I know a lot of people hate on it, again, because it's not as good as City or Asylum. But to me, if you just put it over here by itself, it's a good game. I'm not going to say it's a great game. I'm not going to say it's a game that I'm going to go back and try to 100%.
Mm-hmm.
But it was a good game, and I enjoyed my experience.
I wouldn't go so far as to say it won me over, but it did prove to me that it was, it wasn't just Warner Brothers going, we need an Arkham game, do it, I don't care. If that makes sense. It's good enough to be called an Arkham game.
Yes.
So, which is more than I was expecting going in. I wouldn't quite say that, I wouldn't rank it above any of the Rocksteady games. But it's good.
Yeah. No, I'm with you there.
So, I think we've said about all we need to say about Arkham Origins. Now that we've beaten all three of those games, now we can move on to Night, right?
Yeah, let's do it.
Sure, why not?
Get a PS4.
Yeah. Shit. Fuck! Or, buy it on Oh, wait.
Yeah, don't buy it on PC. You can buy it on PC and just hate on it, I guess. Or it's gone now.
Yeah, I was about to say they're still in suspend mode. Although apparently there was a bit of a fuss about that. Actually, now that I think about that, there was a rumor going around that they weren't going to have the patch out until September for the PC version of the game, and it was just like, oh, that's not going to sit well with people. And praise to Warner Brothers, though, because they got out in front of that shit and they said, it's not going to be September, it'll be in August.
Well, even if it's September, all they have to do is go, look at Grand Theft Auto. You guys waited 2 years for that fucking game.
Yeah.
You can wait 2 months. PC people, shut up.
But
whiny buttheads.
Well then, tell us how you really feel,
I'm
Randy.
telling you right now.
At any rate, so...
I'm sorry, the assholes that go around and... I mean, I know the leader of the group has come out saying it wasn't his intention, but when there's a group on Steam basically calling out every game that can't hit 60 frames per second and calling them out for being shitty, again, for him, that wasn't his intention, but that's what that group does. And it's... I'm sorry. PC people drive me nuts sometimes.
Okay. So, moving on to your game for this episode. Why don't we go ahead and talk about that one?
Yes, I played Guacamelee. I played the Super Tuber. The Super Tuber. Yeah, that's exactly what I played. The Super Tuber.
And now I'm sitting there. I almost broke out into the Goofy Goober song from SpongeBob. Heaven help me. Oh,
that would have been good podcasting. You want to do it now?
No.
Okay.
Because I'd laughed too hard and ruined it anyway.
The Super Turbo Championship Edition.
Yay! You did it. Good job.
I played it for the PS4. This is a game that for years I wanted to get around. I've heard amazing things about it. It's my style of game, kind of a callback to old school games. So I finally got around to playing it, and I have to say to all the critics that love this game, I totally agree with you. If you've never played this game, never heard of it, think Super Metroid.
Yep.
But with a Mexican wrestler.
A luchador. Before you get too much further, do what we usually do, and this game, the Super Turbo Championship Edition, released July 2nd, 2014, developed and published by Drinkbox Studios. Now that we've gotten that out of the way, continue.
Okay. So like I said, it reminds you a ton of Metroid. Bunch of things that are hidden and different rooms that are with it's like Super Metroid. You remember when we were playing where the path? I mean, it's leading you on a path. You can see it on the map. You have to go here.
Yep.
But if you really want to get into Guacamelee, you have to explore. And I'm sure there were rooms that I couldn't find because I didn't go out and get all of them. But to me, at least, it seemed like the rooms that were out of your way to get to at least weren't hidden. It wasn't like there's a wall here and you have to blow it up, but it has no sign that you could do that.
Exactly.
Because everything
I get what you mean. Everything has a color, a tell, so to speak.
In this game, you have different abilities that you learn, and each one coordinates with a color, whether you do that move to open a door, or later on, enemies will get a bubble around them, basically, or an outline of a certain color, and you have to hit them with that certain move first to unlock that, and then you can defeat them.
Yeah.
Which becomes a bitch when you have... Oh, and that's the other thing, is you have 2 dimensions that you later can manipulate. So you hit R1, I think. Now that I'm blanking on the control scheme, but
no, you hit like the dimension shift button. To shift
and you go back and forth, and the ones that are in the other dimension, all you see is the shadow of. So you get into fights where you have 5 enemies on the screen, 2 are in one dimension, 3 in the other, and they all need different things to hit them with, and all sorts of shit are going in. So it's a difficult game, and again, I call back to old school gaming where it doesn't really hold your hand. So, they do all that stuff. The names of the abilities show exactly the kind of humor in this game. Because, for one, again, a ton of references to all sorts of old school stuff. Like, we could have a whole podcast talking about each thing that I have seen.
Yeah.
But we don't need to get into it. But Trozo statues are what hold the special abilities, which is a callback to Metroid, of course, because that's what are holding the special abilities in that. So you break that, and you meet this goat person. Like, he's a goat, and then he talks to you as a goat, and then he switches into an old man, and he gives you your ability. And his lines are amazing about why do you have to break everything the moment you walk in to this room? Just calling back to, that's what gamers do. You just walk in and go, oh, boxes. Break the fucking boxes.
Yeah.
So he's making fun of you there. Well, he gives you these moves. So you start out and you get the rooster uppercut. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Just normal uppercut. And then you go along Olmec's headbutt, which Olmec, the Hidden Temple game from Nintendo.
Legends of the Hidden Temple from Nickelodeon.
Yes. Olmec. He's the one that teleports you from place to place.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have the Frog Slam, which is basically a frog splash, but copyright infringements. But he curls up into a ball instead of splashing. And then you get to a point where he goes, listen, I can't come up with any more names for these moves. So you get the Dashing Dirt.
Oh, God. Game of the year, all years.
Yes. So, I mean, you get, there's a few other abilities, but Dashing Dirt wins them all. So, a couple references that you see. I showed you one during the stream that I have of it, of Castle Crashers. There's one that has a upcoming battle between two different memes, and they change them different. There's another one between what is a reference to Majora's Mask versus a reference of Mega Man.
Nice.
Just all sorts of references to movies and games and cartoons and memes and internet stuff. And there's tons of videos on YouTube. You need to go check them out just to see.
Yeah, I was about to say, I remember when the original came out, some people who lack souls and enjoyment in their lives were complaining about the amount of references in this game, and I'm like, no.
Why?
Yeah, if it's meant to be a humorous game, then fucking let them have their references, you know? As long as they're not being super upfront in your face about it and trying to force it down your throat like some other games, The Cave.
Yeah, and it's all background stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, 90% of the pop culture references is just a poster on the wall. Or something like that. Or just a goofy way somebody says a line or something.
Yeah.
So basically the story is the girl that you like is a princess, she gets kidnapped, you get killed. Because you suck at this point. And then that's why you can go back to both dimensions and stuff. And then you're going around just defeating all these masters to get to your main boss, who's... I suck at names, and I forgot to write it down, whatever. Yeah. Great journalism here, guys, I'm sorry. But, so, it's your generic, beat a few bosses, very Super Metroid-like, you get to the final boss, kicks the shit out of you for a while, and what I love about them is they all use what you've learned to beat them.
Yeah, exactly.
But without going...
without
2 seconds.
You over the head.
It's not like you get a new ability and you walk into the room and that's the only ability that will beat this dude.
Yeah.
And the final boss is great because it's like those enemies I was telling you about with the bubbles, but he uses all of them. And they switch all the time and you have to stay on your toes. So it's a great game. Don't want to get too much into it just because there's not that much, I guess. It's not very in-depth. It's just a very enjoyable time and a wonderful game. And if you like 2D platformers, you like Super Metroid back then, this is a must-play. I'm so glad that I finally got to play this game.
Yeah, it sounds like you had a good time. What I watched of it during your stream, which I need to get around to, I have the highlight now on the Backlog Busting YouTube account, but I need to edit some of it out because we talk about stuff that we don't want revealed yet near the end of the stream, and it shows up, and it's like, well... So, once I get that edited out, we'll post the link to the Backlog Busting YouTube channel. You basically covered anything I would have had to say about the game because I was just going to bring up the memes and what you thought about it. If you thought they were a distraction or not.
No, definitely not.
Yeah, which you answered quite clearly. So,
love those.
Yeah. Did you have any problems with the platforming controls at all, or
only user error. It's because you have so many. Well, okay, actually there is one. Now that I'm thinking about it, because again, it's mostly user error. But I have, for whatever reason, like you have it's up and down and side to side while you're hitting your jump or your attack button. Do the 3 different combos, and one if you're just standing there. And for whatever reason, from doing the right attack and the up attack, I could do that every time. But for whatever reason, like in the heat of a battle, if I'm facing somebody with the blue, which is left or right, and the green, which is down, my thumb did the opposite so many times.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was just using the control stick made it a little difficult or whatever. That would get annoying a little bit, just the heat of the battle kind of stuff. But other than that, the platforming elements and all of that, I never really had an issue with. I think that's the only control complaint I could have. And again, I'm sure 95% of that was just my inability to make my thumb go the right direction all the way.
Yeah. So, yeah, I was more. Yeah, that I'll allow it. I was more looking for kind of if you thought the controls were actually working against you at any point, which is a thing I've had issues with a few of my games. Is I felt like the controls were leading me astray.
I honestly think overall this game controls very well, and like I said, just the moving, doing multiple combos and stuff, or multiple special abilities to get through things is a little difficult at times. But I think it's more on me than the game being broken.
Okay. All right. Well, that about covers Guacamelee, so should we move along to mine, or did you have...
Yeah. No, let's go for it.
Okay, so my game this episode was Final Fantasy V. I played it. I played the Game Boy Advance version, which is what I have the information for in the show notes. The Game Boy Advance version, released November 6, 2006, was of course developed by Square and published by Square Enix. And this game, I started playing it because of a yearly charity event called the 4-Job Fiesta at 4jobfiesta.com if you want to learn more about it. And one of Final Fantasy V's main draws has always been its battle system. And it's more specifically its job system. And it's what it basically is you get access to just under 20 jobs over the course of the game, broken up into the 4 crystals that you encounter over the course of the game. And you can change any of the 4 characters into any of the jobs at any time, and you get, and you can learn their abilities and make a blue mage with a dragoon's jump ability, for example. That's just random off the top of my head. Or chemist who can learn blue magic. I don't know why I keep going to blue magic, but you get the idea. Well, blue magic, to be fair, blue magic is one of the most broken parts of Final Fantasy V, and that's fucking saying something.
You just love blue magic because you love Eiffel 65 and you love their song Blue.
Oh,
whatever.
Jesus.
But, so just real quick, I do have a question. I've played this game, but just to clarify, so you can only pick between 2, right? Or you combine, because in all of your examples of blue mage and something else, you can only take two jobs?
Well, you can choose any job to be your actual job, and you get the stats from that job and the primary ability of that job. And then you have one slot that you can slot in any other ability that you've learned from any other class.
Okay. So it's not like you can have a fighter, mage, thief.
No, not
just
quite.
The 2. Okay.
Well, actually, I take that back. You can kind of have that because once you master a class, the bear class, or it's called freelancer in advance, gets the bonuses of that class, like the stat bonuses.
Okay.
So you can kind of do something like that if you master enough classes and switch to freelancer, or the Game Boy Advance version also adds mime, and mime gets that kind of thing going on too. But So what the 4-job fiesta is you sign up via Twitter, and how the game doles out the jobs is you get a series of jobs at each crystal. And once you reach each crystal, you send a tweet to a bot, and it tells you what your next job is based on what conditions you've set for yourself. I'm not going to go into full explaining it because you can go to 4-Job Fiesta for that. But it's an interesting way to play the game because it constrains you to that party. Like if the bot tells you can only have a monk at the first crystal, your entire party has to be monks until you unlock your next job. And then once you unlock the next crystal, which for me I unlocked, I believe I got monk and then summoner. Once you get that next crystal, you have to have at least one monk and at least one summoner in your party at all times.
But at that point, can you have 2 other ones, or is it...
No, it's just monk and summoner.
Okay.
Yeah, and then, so on and so forth. My last 2 jobs were ranger and ninja. So my final party for Final Fantasy V, this run, was a monk, a summoner, a ninja, and a ranger. And, and that's where you kind of start getting into some of the broken things that the job system can help you do. Is because one of the most broken things to do is you can give a ninja who has innate dual wielding, wields 2 weapons, the ranger's rapid fire ability. And what rapid fire does is it attacks 4 times for half damage, ignoring defense. So if if you only have one enemy on the screen, you basically get 2 attacks for free, ignoring defense in 1 round. So if you have the right weapon set up, that just starts wrecking shit. Like right now, or near the end of the game, in my run, I was doing nearly 10,000 damage a turn from dual wielding rapid fire with the 2 strongest daggers in the game. Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah. If you get a lucky roll in the Fiesta, or if you don't have the restrictions of having to do a Fiesta run, you can break Final Fantasy V over your knee. But here's the thing: it almost feels like the game encourages you to break it over your knee, because it makes no secret of here's your new jobs, here's stuff you can do with them, etc., etc. It tells you once you've mastered jobs, your freelance class gets the bonuses from them, so it becomes a really powerful job near the end if you master a bunch of jobs. Mechanically, this game is easy to break, but it is ridiculously fun to break, to see how you can, beat this boss into a pulp.
So say you do this challenge. What would be the worst role, in your opinion?
For Berserker. There is a class called the Berserker in this that you get a huge strength boost, but you lose control of the character, and it does nothing but attack. And
is that just your first?
Depending, well,
that's what I'm asking. Like, what would be the first or the worst 4-character class that you can get from those roles?
The worst, absolute worst role you can get, and this has happened, is everybody as Berserkers.
So you can start as a Berserker?
I think it's actually the first crystal.
Is it? It's been 10 years at least. Since I played.
I'm pretty sure Berserker is on the water crystal. The wind crystal is the first crystal. I can't remember off the top of my head now. But, yeah, it would be Berserker, would be the absolute worst. I know there's a mod available that makes all the jobs available once you get the first crystal, just to make, doing Fiesta runs a bit more interesting, because now you have all 4 of your party right at the start, and you have to start juggling a bit sooner than you would. But I just remember there have been a few runs where they've had nothing but Berserkers, and they have to face down some of the early bosses, which, that's one of the only times Final Fantasy V gets difficult. Is because a lot of Final Fantasy V's bosses rely on the old standby of if you attack in this phase, you're going to get your shit wrecked.
Yeah.
So when you lose the ability to tell your characters not to attack, which you do if you have a berserker, they just attack once their ATB fills. They attack, period, and they attack randomly. You have no control whatsoever over them. It gets a little dicey. The sandworm in particular, and I'm sure anybody listening who's had the unfortunate task of having to do a berserker run against the sandworm just involuntarily flinched, is a boss where there's 3 holes in the sandworm and it pops up randomly. If you attack one of the holes that doesn't have the sandworm in it, it casts gravity on your entire party, which knocks you down to like double-digit HP and then also inflicts sap on you. Which is, you continually lose HP every tick of the battle system. Yeah, it's a bitch. Anyway, we've been talking, I've been talking a lot about the mechanics, talk a little bit about the story. This was kind of right at the precipice of when they started focusing on the story in Final Fantasy. Because Final Fantasy V, you basically, you start out, basically you fall into the story. Almost. You just happen to be there when X-Death, the big bad of the game, is starting to kind of, put his plan into motion, and then you end up having to go stop him.
Greatest villain name ever.
I know, right? Yeah. And, well, remember in the original translation, greatest hero name ever, he's named Butts. In the original translation. To be fair, in the Final Fantasy V translation, his default name is Bartz. But in the PlayStation 1 translation and the Super Nintendo translation that came out, it's Butts. But then again, the PlayStation 1 translation is, well, interesting. We'll put it that way. That's another thing I kind of wanted to talk about. This game exudes charm from just about every single pore of it. And a lot of that comes down to they completely retranslated this game, forget the Game Boy Advance port, and they basically stuffed it to, it basically feels like what would happen if Ted Woolsey was set onto a script, like he was for Final Fantasy VI and Chrono Trigger, except he got all of his references in. Or all of his kind of humor in, because one of your characters is a pirate, and at one point she gets surprised and exclaims, "By the briny beard of Neptune."
Isn't that something we all say?
No, I haven't had cause to say it very often.
I say that every time I get a 21 on blackjack. Near the end of the game, you're chasing down leads to try and stop X-Death, and you find this sealed tome, book, not gravesite. And the sage is reading it off to you, and he says 12 legendary weapons, and Bartz, or the main character, does his best Solid Snake impression and goes 12 legendary weapons, and the sage's response is basically, yes, there are weapons, yes, they are legendary, and there are even 12 of them. And it's just it's that kind of stuff throughout basically the entire game, and you'd think it would get old over the course of a 25-hour RPG. It doesn't. It's amazing writing through and through, and it still doesn't detract from the seriousness of when X-Death starts throwing towns into the void, and killing things. So, I had an amazing time with this game, even though it took me a little while to actually get sat down and beat it, because I'm going to be basically tweeting out my proof of victory to the Fiesta bot tonight when I get home after we finish this recording.
And I may actually sign up for another run after this, just to have another shot at maybe getting a party that actually poses a little bit more of a challenge. Because with this party, like I said, I basically just need the summoner and the ninja now for everything, and the monk and the ranger are just kind of standing around doing nothing. Because the summoner can just sit there and cast, like Sildra and Bahamut and, wreck face with summons, and then the ninja can sit there and clean up pieces with rapid fire. So, I'm kind of interested to maybe try and get another group where I might have to, think on my toes a little bit, because I think that would be a nice little challenge. So, any questions for me on?
So, this is the one that didn't come here originally, right? Or is this 2?
No. This is fun. Was Final Fantasy V on both sides of the ocean. I guess
not when it first came out.
Because
we went 1, 2, 3, 7 originally.
Right.
So that's what I'm asking about. So this was not 2. 2 was 4, and 5 didn't come here until they started the anthology collection?
Yes.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this was not on the Super Nintendo.
Well, no, it wasn't. I did. Oh, I know why I did. I got somebody did go and translate a fan translation of 5.
Oh, okay.
From the Super Nintendo. Yeah. I was just remembering
that's just where you got me. It was like, I remember playing this, but I didn't.
Yeah,
I didn't think it was
the first North American exposure to this game would be the god-awful anthology port to the PlayStation 1, with its load times and its really bad translation where the main character is Butts, and one of the characters is named Salsa, and wyverns are now wyverns for some reason, Y-burn, like the letter Y. Yeah, the PlayStation 1 version is pretty terrible, and I'm glad I had access to the advanced version, because I probably would have torn my fucking hair out trying to play the PS1 version. Because I did try for a bit, and I just got sick of the load times and whatnot, and the translation. I just kind of went, nope, I'm done.
Where would you rank Final Fantasy V on your list of favorite Final Fantasies? Like, is it one of your top ones? I mean, obviously there has been some shitty ones, but would you put this in your top 5?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah? Let's see here, because I haven't actually played a lot of them. I've played 7. I've beaten 8, 9, and 10, and I've played a little bit of 12, and that's basically it. And, of course, I've beaten 5 now. So, would I place Final Fantasy V in my top 5 of 6? Yes.
Okay, so...
From what I've heard of, from what I've heard of the other games, maybe some of them would, knock it out of there, because it would probably go, for me, it would probably go 8, 9, 5, 7, 10.
I'm so glad we don't have listeners, because we would get so much hate mail that you'd put it above 7, and then you would have 8 above 7.
Well,
not to mention that you've never played 6, which people would freak out about. And we won't talk about that I've played it and never beat it.
I've played 6, but I have not nearly to the extent I've played 7. I will also gently remind people that I have not beaten 7. I've gotten basically to the end of the game, but I've never actually seen the credits roll on 7. And I believe we discussed this episode 1, but
I'm sure. But don't worry about it, because in 3 years, when the remake comes out, you'll play it.
Yeah, So, pencil that in for about episode 50.
It might be longer than that.
Well, let's see here. Episode 50 would be in the middle of year 2. So...
Yeah, so next year. And it's 5, 7 remakes definitely not coming out next year.
Oh yeah, good point. Okay.
As much as I would love it to.
Episode 77, just for the 7 jokes.
That would be great.
So, yeah. Final Fantasy V, very enjoyable game for me. I'm kind of sad it took me this long to finally sit down and beat it, because I've known about it for a while. I've actually, for the last 3 years running, tried to play in the Fiesta just to say I'd played and beaten Final Fantasy V. And stuff would just come up, it would get shelved, and I'd forget about it.
Okay, so I got one more question. I've always thought of the Super Nintendo RPGs to be like that great gateway RPG for people. Like, it wasn't for me when I was younger. I didn't like RPGs until I even tried 7. 7 was my gateway game, but I had tried 7 previously to it and hated it. And then for whatever reason, I played it again and fell in love with it. And then got into some of these other RPGs. But I've always felt that the Super Nintendo RPGs were the best for showing somebody how RPGs work. Getting somebody that wasn't into that genre, to become a fan of it. Would you? So say we have a buddy who's never played an RPG. Like, he's played Skyrim and those kind of RPGs, like Western RPGs. But to introduce them to the old, the Japanese RPG style and the turn-based stuff, would you recommend Final Fantasy V to be his first one, or would you recommend something else first?
For that specific hypothetical where he's played Western RPGs that generally tend to have a lot of character customization, I'd actually say Final Fantasy V because it kind of eases you into JRPG stuff, but it has a very high degree of customer characterization. Fucking wow. Character customization. There we go.
Next time on the English-speaking podcast, we butcher the English language.
Yes. Also, podcast title found. Customer characterization.
So there you go. Listen, if you guys, are fans of Skyrim or Fallout or, the Western RPGs, and you want to try an older game, Wes, right here, has recommended Final Fantasy V for you guys to ease you into the wonderful world of Japanese RPGs. And I honestly, I have 5 as one of the Final Fantasies that I have played and I have beat. I actually tend to agree with you. It's been 10, 15 years since I played it, but from what I remember of it, everything you said, I totally agree with.
But
don't do the Jump Fiesta your first time.
Well, considering it's what I did,
but
don't
as your first Japanese RPG.
Oh,
experience.
okay, good point. Yeah, but if you do have JRPG experience, you might want to think about doing the Fiesta because it avoids kind of the analysis paralysis problem, which was a large part of my problem when I first tried to play Final Fantasy V without Fiesta rules. Is I sat there and I was like, ooh, maybe I should maybe I should go into Blue Mage for a bit. No, but I want to learn some stuff in Beastmaster or whatever, But, oh, well, he's almost done with Summoner, or he's almost done with Bard, or, et cetera, et cetera. And I'd be like, well, fuck. I
had the same problem, not to the same extent, but I had kind of the same problem in 9, going, well, I want this weapon, but he's so close to learning this ability, but do I want... No... And then you get too many abilities, you can only have space for some, and it's like, wow, what do I want to pick? What do we want to do today?
And, I almost want to go and play 9 now. Because I don't know why it is, but just seeing it being played on Twitch to 600 people, and then you talking about it now, and I'm sitting there going, wow, it's been a while since I played 9.
Well, maybe we'll have to fit it in.
But, or do it, or, stream it.
Fuck it, we'll do it live.
Yeah. Thanks, Randy O'Reilly. Hey, alliteration.
Oh, Randy.
Yeah. I will probably sign up for a second run of the Fiesta. I might do a little streaming of that, and, I guess that would be a good time as any to announce that we are going to be trying to stream a bit more often now that we have kind of, now that we know that we can kind of do it.
Yes.
My internet connection is not really good enough for some of the higher speed stuff, but we'll see how it goes, because I haven't really tested anything more major than I did one Final Fantasy V stream. But I will be posting a schedule at some point on the podcast release day of upcoming dates where we're going to try and stream, and in some cases what we'll be streaming. So look forward to that.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be tentative for now, but look for it to be a scheduled thing, like what I do last time, Tuesday at 6 Pacific time. So something like that, where like every week at this time on this day, you should assume that one of us will be streaming. So once we kind of work some of the bugs out of this and figure out what works best and what works best for the people that want to watch what we're playing, or for our work schedules and stuff, we'll try to nail in a time and then have some extra stuff. But it's a work in progress.
Yep. So we've got all that. We've got all of our games for this episode out of the way. We've made our announcement about Twitch. Now it's time to talk about next episode's games. Next episode's going to be the start of something we've been talking about for months now. It's going to be the first episode of Metal Gear Month.
Yes.
And for next episode will be the first episode out of 3 that we're planning for Metal Gear Month. We'll be talking about Metal Gear 1, Metal Gear 2, Solid Snake, both for the MSX, and then Metal Gear Solid 1. And then we'll go from there with the second and third episodes of the month. I do have some also additional content brewing for the articles related to Metal Gear that month.
Yeah,
and of course,
all of my top 10s will be Metal Gear related, and we're just going all out. Both of us are super excited for 5.
Yep.
And we figured what better way to prep us for said Metal Gear Solid 5 than to hide away Kojima and never talk about him again.
Wait, what? Shit. When did we turn into Konami management?
Oh, well, that's how they were prepping for Final Fantasy 5. Jesus Christ.
The train has gone up the tracks, and the tracks have melted.
Fuck. That's how they're prepping for Metal Gear Solid 5 to get rid of him, so I thought that's what we were doing, too.
I was about to say, when did we become Konami executives, and can we use our golden parachutes and not have to worry about shit like bills? And get off the sinking ship that is Konami, but I digress a lot. So yeah, we'll have Metal Gear Month starting next episode. Please look forward to that. It's going to be a lot of fun.
And on top of that, just real quick to kind of go back, if you have games that you want to see us stream on Twitch, especially, say, games that we're not doing for the podcast, but you just kind of want to see us try out, just as kind of some one-off stuff or anything like that, message us on 411, message us on backlogbusting.com, leave a message on iTunes, Twitter, all that stuff. Let us know about the games that you want to see us try.
Indeed. Alright, so, normally this is where we would do news roundup, but there is one thing that happened in the space between the last episode and this one that we should take a few minutes to reflect on.
Yes.
And that is, of course, the very sudden and tragic passing of one Mr. Satoru Iwata, who was the president of Nintendo of Japan and was serving as the CEO of Nintendo of America. And he passed away on the 11th at the age of 55 due to a bile duct growth that he had announced last year around this time, actually. And basically, a lot of people in this industry and a lot of people who play games owe the fact that they are playing games to Satoru Iwata in one form or another. Because he started out at Nintendo doing programming, and he worked on stuff like Balloon Fight, and I'm blanking on some of his earlier Nintendo works. Kirby.
He's Kirby.
Yeah, Kirby, and all that. And then he rose through the ranks at Nintendo, and eventually became the president of the company. And he oversaw basically he basically oversaw one of the darkest times in Nintendo history and one of the greatest times in Nintendo history. Because he started out with the GameCube, which, didn't do too hot commercially, but it's kind of become a cult classic. And then, of course, he presided over the Wii and the DS, which I shouldn't have to tell anybody listening to this podcast how batshit insane those things became.
Yeah, and that's exactly the perfect way of saying that, Wes, was because when both of those things were announced, we all thought he was batshit crazy.
Yeah.
Because who needs two screens on your handheld? I mean,
Yeah.
how are you going to be able to see both? Or how's this motion control stuff going to take off? And they both did, and they're both amazing. And of course, we both love the DS and play it all the time. The Wii's not quite for us, but as far as families go, they hit it right on the head with that one.
Yeah.
And it's all because of him and his vision, and we all have to basically bow to his greatness, really.
Yeah. And then, of course, to kind of complete the thought there, he was also president of the company for the 3DS and the Wii U, which have both been, a little bit of a disappointing follow-up, I would say, to the Wii and the DS.
But see, I can't really say that as a follow-up. He just took these great ideas that worked well for him and tried to mod them a little bit, I guess. And it just didn't work out.
Yeah.
I mean, but it wasn't like he tried something completely new and it didn't work.
Well, we keep saying there are teams and whatnot,
absolutely.
but to kind of expand on that point, though, there was this great article on Engadget Gaming, which rose from the ashes of Joystick, about how a lot of journalists felt like they had come to the wrong conclusions about the Wii U, but they're coming around too little, too late because Nintendo's basically admitted, the Wii U's kind of a lame duck. The NX is coming next year.
Well, they're going to announce something.
The more details are coming on the NX, but it's a thing that's happening, and it seems like they're, starting to shift focus to that.
Yes.
But there was this amazing article, and I'll link it in the show notes, of journalists basically going, the Wii U didn't have to be, this end-all, be-all of, it didn't have to be Nintendo suddenly deciding to play ball with Sony and Microsoft in the graphical power race. It just needed to be, it just needed to be innovative and fun, and it is. Yeah. It's a little on the weird side, but it has a bunch of, it has Splatoon now. It has, the Mario games. It has, fun experiences that you aren't going to quite get on the PS4 or the Xbox One. Smash Brothers, etc. Yeah. And the article's basically just these journalists going, wow, we really screwed up by condemning this thing as fast as we did.
And you know what? We all did. And especially the internet community, that it didn't seem like it would be something for them, so they completely threw it under the bus and hated on it and stuff. And after his passing, you read all these articles, and I think one of my favorite quotes, and I'm going to butcher the quote, so I apologize in advance, but he basically had told somebody when the Wii had come out, he's like, listen, Sony and Microsoft, he kept talking about blue water.
Mm-hmm. And the blue ocean strategy.
Blue ocean, yeah. He's like, basically, listen, Sony and Microsoft are going to battle it out and turn their ocean red, and I'm going to go over here to this blue ocean where no one else is, and I'm going to capitalize on it. And it worked perfectly. And that's exactly what's going on. We always think of the console wars, it's just Microsoft and Sony because we always just think Nintendo's dead in the water. But they're in their own water, and they're making tons of money still. Yeah. And, it's really worked out for them, and it takes an innovator that we just didn't even think about. And we, have said terrible things about, and we should all be ashamed. And, I mean, it's sad that it takes his death to realize his motivation and the things that he did for the gaming industry in whole. Yeah.
I knew some of these before his death, but, when you read about some of the things he accomplished as a programmer, you kind of have to sit there and go, holy shit. He took, Earthbound apparently was an unplayable mess. And, it was on the verge of getting canceled. And Shigesato Itoi basically went to Iwata and went, I don't know what to do. This game is a mess. It's, there's no way it's getting done. It's going to get canceled. Help. And Iwata basically went, I can do it, but we're basically going to have to toss this out and we're going to have to rebuild it. And he sat there and he helped direct and rebuilt that game from scratch in a year.
Listen, I've been saying wonderful things about him. Do we have to bring up a bad thing that he did?
Wow. Anyway, moving on, before I blow a gasket. One of the other things he did was, I think it was Gold and Silver Pokemon.
Yeah.
The original developers were running out of memory just with the region of Gold and Silver, which I believe was Johto, wasn't it? And they were running out of memory. Iwata looked at it, basically recoded it and compressed it enough that not only could they fit Johto on there, but they could fit Kanto on there too, the original continent. So, Iwata basically, by himself, made it possible for Gold and Silver to have both continents on it.
Yeah, and then he goes and goes to... He was aiding in Pokemon Stadium, and he basically read the original coding for Red and Green in a week.
Yeah.
And he ported the whole battle system
to the Nintendo 64 with no design documents. Just
in 1 week.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, it also speaks to how much simpler it was to code for systems back then.
Also, I just thought about, was it Red and Green in Japan? Because it was Red and Blue here.
I believe it was Red and Green in Japan,
okay.
Yeah. For some reason. But, and then there's that amazing quote of his where on his business card it says he's a president. In my mind, I'm a game developer, but in my heart, I'm a gamer.
Yes.
That is awesome. So, yeah, he's gonna be missed, and it's gonna be interesting to see who Nintendo kind of puts in his place, because they do have. Apparently, they're gonna have Miyamoto and somebody who is pretty well respected on the hardware side kind of share duties for now on the Japanese side of things. Don't know who's going to step up to be CEO on the American side of things, but we'll see from there.
What about, what's his name?
Reggie.
Well,
he's already president of Nintendo of America. Would they name him president and CEO? I'm not sure. But he will definitely be missed.
Yes.
And instead of my traditional closing here, I'm just going to say thank you, Mr. Iwata, for all you've done. And yeah, we will see you next time on the Backlog Busting Project. Thank you for listening.
Thanks, Iwata.
My name is Iwata. I'm about making games. And I'm about playing games. Last night, I played Super Smash Brothers. That's my game. I kicked some you know what. And I took his name. His name was Reggie. As Nintendo president, I'm also all about asking questions. So, Reggie, I have a question for you. Who's your daddy?